investigation has a breaking point. Just days ago, Charlie Kirk's killing sent shockwaves through the nation. The crime was raw, the grief immediate, and the search for answers relentless. The public was left asking, who could have done this? And why? And now, barely days later, we have a confession that threatens to turn everything upside down. Tyler Robinson, the man long at the center of suspicion, has spoken. He has admitted to killing Charlie Kirk. But it's not the admission alone that has stunned investigators and shaken communities. It's what he claimed after. Robinson says he was not acting on his own. He says he was sent. Those words have ignited a storm of questions. Sent by whom? For what purpose? Was Robinson manipulated, threatened, or rewarded? Or is this claim an attempt to deflect, to cast doubt, to pull others into his crime? In just a matter of days, this tragedy has shifted from a single act of violence to a chilling suggestion of something bigger, something organized, something hidden beneath the surface. Tonight, we'll take you through Robinson's confession, piece by piece. We'll examine his motives, the contradictions in his testimony, and the haunting claim that Charlie Kirk's death may not have been random at all. Because if Tyler Robinson was truly sent, then this is no longer just about a killer. It's about who wanted Kirk gone, and why. Before we dive into today's story, kindly subscribe to our Shadow Detective channel. If you believe in fighting for justice, kindly help us reach 300 subscribers, and we believe that with energy and support, we will achieve it. Let's build this community that refuses to stay silent, to stop asking the hardest question of all, but why? Every view, every comment, and every subscriber is a stand against silence and a step toward truth for those who can't fight for themselves. When a case reaches the point of confession, everything changes. The silence breaks, the uncertainty narrows, and the focus shifts to the words of the accused. For days, Tyler Robinson said nothing. He watched the headlines spiral, he heard the outrage grow, and he sat, stone-faced, as the world demanded answers. And then, behind closed doors, he spoke. According to law enforcement sources, Robinson's confession came while in police custody, not in front of cameras, not in the glare of a courtroom, but in the contained, pressurized setting of interrogation. The timing was deliberate. Detectives had been pressing him for hours, carefully layering evidence, timelines, and witness accounts. And in that moment, Robinson broke the silence. His voice, by all accounts, was low but firm. There was no trembling, no hesitation that suggested uncertainty. Yet there also wasn't the defiance of a man claiming innocence. Instead, what investigators described was a chilling calm, an admission made not in panic, but in a controlled, almost resigned tone. Robinson said the words no one expected to hear so soon, that he was the one who killed Charlie Kirk. What stood out even more was his demeanor. There was no visible remorse, no tears, no apology, no attempt to humanize the act. But there was also no fiery anger or outburst. Instead, Robinson carried himself with the unsettling composure of someone who had accepted his role. A man who, in his own words, had carried out what needed to be done. Those 4 words, "I killed Charlie Kirk," instantly shifted the investigation. It wasn't speculation anymore. It wasn't rumor, or theory, or political debate. It was the suspect himself, placing the weight of responsibility squarely on his own shoulders. And yet, in that same breath, Robinson's admission raised more questions than it answered. Because immediately after taking ownership of the act, he made a claim that has left investigators, and the nation, stunned. He said he wasn't alone. He said he was sent. The confession solved one piece of the puzzle, but it opened the door to a much darker possibility. A confession may tell us what happened, but it rarely tells us why. And in the case of Tyler Robinson, the why may be the most disturbing piece of all. When asked directly about his motive, Robinson's answer was far from clear-cut. Instead, it was fragmented, layered with contradictions, and laced with claims that have only deepened the mystery. At first, Robinson suggested personal grievance. He hinted at resentment, anger toward Kirk's influence. His words, his presence in the public sphere. But he never detailed a specific incident, never gave a moment where grievance turned into violence. It was as if his explanation stopped halfway, painting anger as the backdrop, but leaving the picture unfinished. Moments later, his account shifted. Robinson alluded to pressure beyond himself, to politics, to ideology, to forces bigger than personal resentment. He spoke of being part of something larger, though investigators noted that his language was vague, almost evasive. Was this the voice of a man revealing a conspiracy, or the voice of someone trying to spread the weight of his crime across faceless others? And then there was the possibility of financial desperation. In fragments of the interrogation, Robinson admitted to being offered something, though what exactly remains unclear. Was it money, protection, or leverage? Or was this another attempt to distance himself from full accountability by suggesting he acted under incentive or coercion? The contradictions are striking. One moment Robinson claimed personal anger, the next outside pressure, then perhaps financial reward. Each explanation on its own might be enough to sketch a motive, but taken together, they create a web of confusion that investigators are still trying to untangle. Which of these motives, if any, aligns with the evidence on record? And here lies the most haunting possibility. Robinson's confession may not have been about truth, but about survival. Was he under pressure to confess, crafting a narrative that would lessen his responsibility? Was he seeking leniency, planting the idea that others pushed him into it? Or was this exactly what it sounded like? A man caught between his own guilt and the weight of secrets too dangerous to expose fully. In the end, Robinson's stated reasons only leave us with deeper questions. Did he act out of his own rage? Or was he simply the hand that carried out someone else's will? The evidence may hold answers, but so far his words only blur the line between confession and manipulation. Confessions can close cases, but sometimes they open doors to darker truths. After admitting to killing Charlie Kirk, Tyler Robinson's next words shifted the entire investigation into uncharted territory. He claimed he was sent. Those two words, simple, vague, but loaded with implication, immediately reframed his confession. If Robinson was telling the truth, then this was not a lone act of violence. It was a mission, a task carried out under someone else's direction. But who could have sent him? And why? Investigators pressed him for clarity. Was this a person, an organization, a shadowy figure, hiding behind the scenes? Robinson refused to give names. He spoke in circles, implying direction, alluding to orders, but never anchoring his words to a face or a group. This evasiveness left detectives torn. Was he protecting someone? Or was he fabricating the idea to avoid the full weight of responsibility? Some within law enforcement believe Robinson's claim is misdirection, a desperate attempt to muddy the waters, to paint himself as a pawn rather than the mastermind. Others, however, caution against dismissing it too quickly. His demeanor in that moment, described as steady and deliberate, did not match the tone of a man scrambling for excuses. It was as if he wanted the idea of being sent to linger, to be remembered, to outlive the interrogation itself. The implications are chilling. If Robinson was sent, then the question becomes, who stood to benefit from Charlie Kirk's death? Was it personal rivals, political adversaries, hidden figures with influence to gain from silencing him? Each possibility stretches the case beyond Robinson himself, transforming it from a crime of passion into a conspiracy of intent. And yet, the contradictions remain. Robinson's refusal to provide detail makes his claim both powerful and fragile. Powerful because of the weight those words carry, fragile because they lack evidence to anchor them. Was this a genuine slip of truth, or a calculated move to seed doubt in the public's mind? What's clear is that his confession, instead of bringing closure, has only deepened the mystery. Because if Tyler Robinson really was sent, then we're no longer asking why he killed Charlie Kirk. We're asking who wanted it done. And that question changes everything. Confessions are not spoken in a vacuum. The moment Tyler Robinson admitted to killing Charlie Kirk, and especially when he claimed he had been sent, the ripple effect was immediate. Communities across the country reacted with disbelief, anger, and in many cases, fear. For many, this wasn't just another crime. It was a direct attack on someone whose voice reached millions. And now Robinson's words suggested that it might not have been his decision alone. Public reaction has been fierce. Vigils for Kirk have taken on a new tone, blending mourning with calls for accountability. Families brought their children to light candles, not just for Charlie, but for the truth, demanding answers about who, if anyone, could have orchestrated such a crime. Online, the speculation has only grown louder, with debates raging over whether Robinson's claim is credible, or simply a smokescreen to shield himself from harsher punishment. The legal system, meanwhile, faces a delicate path forward. Prosecutors now have a confession in hand, an invaluable piece of evidence in securing conviction, but Robinson's claim complicates that process. If he insists he was sent, then the state is under pressure to investigate beyond him, to prove whether others were involved or not. To ignore that claim could risk accusations of negligence. To pursue it could unravel into a chase for shadows. For investigators, this means more interviews, more digging into Robinson's contacts, his financial history, his digital footprint. Was there payment, communication, promises made? So far, nothing conclusive has been shared publicly. But behind closed doors, detectives are working to determine whether Robinson's words represent a larger truth, or an elaborate attempt to scatter suspicion into the wind. In court, his defense team may seize on this ambiguity. They could argue he was manipulated, coerced, or used, painting him less as a cold-blooded killer, and more as a pawn in a larger hidden game. If that narrative takes hold, it could shift the trial's focus away from Robinson himself, forcing prosecutors to defend not only the evidence of his actions, but the broader context of who, if anyone, was truly pulling the strings. And as this plays out in legal arenas, the community continues to wrestle with unease. Because if Robinson's words are true, then justice for Charlie Kirk is not as simple as convicting one man. It is about uncovering every hand involved. And until those answers are revealed, the confession meant to bring closure only leaves the public with more questions, and the justice system with a storm yet to face. Tyler Robinson's confession should have been the moment this case found clarity. Instead, it has become the moment that raised more questions than answers. He admitted, without hesitation, that he killed Charlie Kirk. But his claim of being sent, delivered with chilling calm, has left investigators, communities, and the nation searching for a deeper truth. What was Robinson's real motive? Was it anger festering into violence? Was it ideology, financial desperation, or something orchestrated by others hidden from view? Or was it all a manipulation, an attempt to muddy the waters and shield himself from full responsibility? The contradictions in his words make it difficult to separate confession from strategy, truth from deflection. For Charlie Kirk's family, none of these questions erase the grief. Their loss remains absolute, the absence permanent. For investigators, the challenge is clear. Pursue the claim of being sent with relentless scrutiny, or risk leaving shadows unexamined. And for the public, the confession has transformed what was once seen as an isolated act of violence into the possibility of something larger, something orchestrated, something still unresolved. In the end, Robinson's words draw us into a haunting choice. Do we accept his confession at face value, as the full truth of one man's crime? Or do we believe that behind those words lies a larger story, one that demands exposure, no matter how unsettling it may be? This case is far from over. The confession has shifted the ground beneath it, and what comes next will determine whether justice stops with one man, or stretches into the hidden places his words suggest. And that leaves us with the most pressing question of all. Did Tyler Robinson act alone, or has his voice just uncovered a deeper darkness waiting to be revealed? What do you believe?